Hello everyone, my name is Zarina Aishamaran and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to cover release pipelines and show you how to create one. So before I begin, please do like, subscribe, and yeah, let's get into this. So the first step would be to head over to Azure DevOps and ensure you have created a project. The second step would be to click on repositories and create a repo. So I already have one created, which is called Proof of Concept App. So POC app. And what a release pipeline is. So how does it work? Okay, so you take committed code. So this is code that you are completely happy with, right? And you then deploy that code into a set of environments. So you may have your test environment, your dev environment, your production environment, and before you get to deploy your code to the production environment, you would first take it to dev and then to test. So what this means is you would build your code. And once you're happy with that, you would then take that build and you would deploy it to a particular environment, which I'll show you in this demo. So let's take a web application. It's very static, and there may be most of what you deploy with a web app is pretty much the same. So I have created a web application. It's a very simple one. It's actually the demo from Visual Studios. So if you go to Visual Studios and you create a web application and you test it out and then you package it up and you upload it onto a repository over here, or you could just put any code that you are happy with to test out. And because this is a web application, what I did was I created a web app on Azure, as I want to push this code to that web app that's already been created within Azure. So this is a prereq that is necessary, it's important, so make sure you have a repo with your code. Okay, now that's done, let's head over to pipelines. So what you will do is click on releases and click on new pipeline. So as you can see here, there are two boxes. The first is the artifacts box and the second is the stages. So if we head over to stages, which by default it already has, this is where you would select your environment, really, where you're going to deploy this artifact to. And as I mentioned before, I already have an Azure App Service created, so I will select Azure App Service deployment and click apply. And I will just call this dev, as this is the first stage. And I will click on the X button, and then I will select where it says one job and one task. Now over here, this is where I would select my subscription that I wish to deploy to, and the app type, as well as the app service name. And I will click save and OK. And this is all about where you are deploying to. So now that this has been completed, we could go over to pipeline. And we can select various stages. If you want to add more stages, you could do that. But just to keep things simple, I'm just going to create one stage, and that is the dev stage. Now we can select artifacts. And this is where we would select the code that we want the committed code to deploy to the selected stage. So over here, I've selected my project, and I will select the build pipeline. And I will select add. Now, the next step, which is very important, is to click on this lightning bolt. And this is really where you would create the logic for when to deploy the artifact to a given environment. So if I click on this, and I will just click on the toggle over here where it says enabling the trigger will create a new release every time a new build is available. So every time we have a build, trigger this will be triggered and it will deploy that artifact to the dev stage, which is our dev environment. And I will press X and click save. Okay, so now that this has been completed, we could head over to pipelines and we can trigger a build. So we select Azure repos and we select our repository, and then I will click on existing Azure pipeline, which I already have within my main branch, which is called Azure Pipelines. Continue. And in here, the what's very important is to have this line. And this task is called publish build artifact. And if you don't have this, what it will do is it will run the build pipeline, but it will not publish this artifact. And we need this artifact because this artifact is what we will use and we will take into our dev stage, so our release. So I will select run. And this pipeline is also the dummy pipeline, so it's just a default pipeline, but I included that last line at the end so that it will publish the artifacts. So if I click on job, it might take some time to run this. But once this has done its job, it will trigger off the release pipeline, which is essentially what we need. So now this is going through the various tasks, such as installing, building, testing, and then publishing the build artifact. Okay. It's nearly finished. Okay, so it's on the last task. And yeah, so now that this has been completed successfully, we can head back to releases. There was one thing, sorry, I forgot to do, which was create a pipeline. You know, I guess that happens to everyone when running a demo. So one release has been queued. So over here, we can see that we have a release that has been triggered. And it is going through the various tasks. Now it's deploying. And it should be completed very soon. Remember, we are deploying a piece of code to a Azure web app, so it's not like it will take 10 seconds. It might take a couple of minutes. It might even be completed sooner than that. But this is essentially what I wanted to show you. This is how you build a release pipeline. You need to have your code in place. You would need to run a build for that code, for that committed code. And then you would need to have a release pipeline which takes that code and deploys it to a environment. And here in this example, we have taken that artifact from the build and we have issued it out to a dev environment. Okay, I hope this video was useful. If so, please like, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. Okay, thanks. Bye.